Hi everyone, this is Decano, and for this video, we will continue the discussion on the topics under surface and subsurface runoff phenomenon. And ang pag-uusapan natin dito is about groundwater exploration and exploitation in the Philippines. So let's proceed to the next slide. Dito sa topic natin, we will focus on five major topics. Number 1, groundwater exploration. Number 2, groundwater exploitation. Number 3, groundwater resources in the Philippines. Number 4, groundwater exploration methods. And lastly, yung groundwater exploitation impacts. So let's start with the first topic, groundwater exploration. So, bago natin maintindihan kung ano nga ba yung groundwater exploration and exploitation as well, kailangan muna natin i-define kung ano nga ba yung groundwater. So, groundwater, as definitions say, is water underground in saturated zones beneath the land's surface. Contrary to popular belief, groundwater does not form underground rivers. It fills the pores and fractures in ground materials such as sand, gravel, and other rocks. So, ibig sabihin, basically, yung groundwater, galing sa mismong tawag sa kanya, tubig siya na nakikita sa ilalim ng surface. So, yung tubig na pumupuno sa mga fractures and pores sa ilalim ng surface ng lupa, yun yung tinatawag natin groundwater. So, what is groundwater exploration? Groundwater exploration is the investigation of underground formations to understand the hydrologic cycle, know the groundwater quality, and identify the nature, number, and type of aquifers. So, there are different groundwater exploration methods. So, isa dito yung surface geophysical method na ginagamit to investigate groundwater. So, dito naman tayo sa types of geological formations of groundwater. Yung first one natin, we have aquifer. Binanggit natin to dun sa last slide. So, an aquifer is a saturated formation of the earth. It not only stores the water, but also yields it in adequate quantity. So, yung aquifer, hindi lang siya nag-store ng water, nililet din niya yung water na makapag-pass through sa kanya. So, aquifers are highly permeable formations and hence, they are considered as main sources of groundwater applications. So, next naman, we have aquitard. An aquitard is also a saturated formation. It permits the water through it, but does not yield water in sufficient quantity as much as aquifer does. It is because of their their partly permeable nature. But however, if there is an aquifer under the aquitard, then the water from aquitard may seep into the aquifer. So, yung aquifer parang mas saturated siya compared sa mas permeable siya compared sa aquitard. So, ikatlo naman, we have aquiclude. An aquiclude is a geological formation which is permeable to the flow of water. It contains a large amount of water in it but does not permit water through it, and also does not yield water. It is because of its high porosity. So lastly, we have aquifuge. An aquifuge is an impermeable geological formation which is neither porous nor permeable, which means it cannot store water in it, and at the same time, it cannot permit water through it. Compact rock is an example of aquifuge. So, parang yung aquifuge na yung pinaka-bed kung saan hindi na pwedeng mag-pass through yung underground water natin. So, yung second naman, we have underground exploitation. So, what is underground exploitation? Sabi dito sa definition, water exploitation or groundwater exploitation is referred to the extraction of water from irrigation and human consumption. So, ito na yung pagkuha natin ng groundwater mula sa ground at yung pag-consume natin sa kanya. So, water exploitation is greatly connected with agriculture. Nevertheless, a large amount or a large contribution to water exploitation is connected with the industrial and residential sectors and seasonally with tourism. So, mamaya, papakita ko sa inyo kung gaano kadaming groundwater yung nagagamit dito sa Philippines when it comes to agriculture, to industrial uses and residential sectors. So, water exploitation can be estimated by the exploitation index that is defined as withdrawal of conventional freshwater resources, surface and groundwater, over the total renewable resources, which is expressed in percent. So, dito na tayo sa groundwater use in the Philippines. So groundwater is used for drinking by about 50% of the people in the Philippines. Based on the water rights granted by the National Water Resources Board or NWRB, since 2002, 49% of groundwater is consumed by domestic sector and the remaining shared by agriculture, 32%, industry with 15%, and other sectors for 4% of the total groundwater. And about 60% of the groundwater extraction is without water right permits. So ito yung nagre-result kung bakit meron tayong groundwater exploitation. Yung pag-extract ng groundwater without yung permission galing sa authority and hindi siya na regulate ng maayos, nagkakaroon ng overuse and over-extraction ng groundwater. So a high percentage, which is 86% of pipe water supply systems, uses groundwater as resources. And dito makikita ninyo yung ilan sa mga gamit ng groundwater. Meron tayo dyan for agriculture, meron yung sa tap water, yung sa gripo natin, and then yung for industrial uses. So dito, to visualize the differences in or the comparison of groundwater use in the Philippines, we have here 49% for domestic sector, yan yung sa atin, yung sa residential use. Yung agriculture, 32% yung ginagamit for example sa pagpatubig sa mga taniman, and 15% for industry, and yung shared by other sectors, yung 4% naman. And next, we have number 3, groundwater resources in the Philippines. So sa Pilipinas, alam natin na mayaman tayo sa mga natural resources. So yung groundwater sa Philippines, makikita natin dito, marami din naman. So the Philippines obtains its water supply from different sources. These include rainfall, surface water resources, examples rivers, lakes, and reservoir, and groundwater resources. It has 18 major river basins and 421 principal river basins as defined by the National Water Regulatory Board or NWRB. So dito meron tayong mapa, yung meron mga red dot, yan yung ilan sa mga groundwater resources ng Philippines, major groundwater resources of the Philippines. So in terms of groundwater, the country has an extensive groundwater reservoir with an aggregate area of about 50,000 square kilometer. Data from the Mines and Geosciences Bureau, MGB, show that several groundwater basins are underlain by about 100,000 square kilometers of various rock formations, and that these resources are located in the following. So yung pinaka nasa taas, yung red dot doon, yung sa Northeast Luzon, then we have Central Luzon, Laguna Lake Basin, Cavite, Batangas, Laguna Basin, Southeast Luzon, Mindoro. We also have in groundwater resources in Negros Island, Northeast Leyte, Ormoc Cananga Basin, Agusan Davao Basin, Occidental Misamis Basin, and then Lanao Bukidnon Basin. So dito, ilan sa mga mapa, yung una dyan is, I think that is in Laguna Lake Basin, and then yung second naman is in Occidental Misamis Basin, and then yung last yung sa Davao. And number 4, we have groundwater exploration methods. So meron tayong iba-ibang methods kung paano ina-extract yung groundwater or paano ina-explore yung groundwater. So first, groundwater exploration is a normal task for hydrogeologists or an engineer in general. Knowing the location of its availability is the real challenge. Exploration of groundwater requires a basic understanding of its position in the subsurface geological setup. Test drilling is the direct approach to find out the resource, but it will cost a lot. So through the years, dahil sa mga studies na ginawa, more techniques have been developed to explore the groundwater. They are classified into two classifications. We have surface and subsurface methods. So yung surface methods natin, these are easy to operate and implement. These require minimum facilities like topo sheets, maps, reports, some field measurements, and interpretations of data in the laboratories. While yung subsurface methods naman, includes both test drilling and borehole geophysical logging techniques. Compared to surface methods, yung subsurface methods natin are a lot more expensive. These are done for government level projects or yung pangmalakihang project na talaga, or sabi dito, where large scale investigations are carried out. And the subsurface methods are very accurate, which means na mahal nga talaga siya. And yung methods yung method na ito helps in the direct observations of features in the form of borehole lithologs as core samples, and also geophysical measurements of formation properties. So dito, yung subsurface method or yung surface methods rather, meron pa siyang classifications or sub-classifications. We have esoteric methods, geomorphologic methods, geological and structural methods, soil and microbiological methods, remote sensing techniques, and surface geophysical methods. So dito makikita natin yung dalawa sa examples kung paano mag-investigate ng groundwater resources. Yung first picture kinuha ko from the Bureau of Soils and Water Management. Nagpa-pump sila dyan ng tubig para makakuha ng data para mapag-aralan yung buong area ng groundwater resources. And yung next naman, yung subsurface method, exploration method, yan yung borehole ang tawag dito, borehole geophysical logging techniques. Yeah. And then lastly, we have groundwater exploitation impacts. So yung paggamit natin and pag-extract ng groundwater, meron yung impact not only on us, the people, but also on the environment. So groundwater exploitation impacts the extensive use and large-scale extraction of groundwater, especially yung hindi regulated ng authority, can result to several problems that can have impacts to both the environment and the people. So some of the negative impacts of groundwater depletion are the following: increased pumping cost. So kapag nauubos yung tubig sa ilalim, mas kailangan natin ng mas malakas na pumping equipment dahil mas malalim na yung kailangan nating abutin, which means na yung pumping cost will be a lot higher. So yung next naman is the deterioration of water quality, and next we have the reduction of water in streams and lakes, and lastly yung land subsidence. So kapag bumabawas yung tubig sa ground natin, or nababawasan yung groundwater, yung land sa taas niya ay may tendency na mag-subside. So those are just some of the groundwater exploitation impacts. So marami pa yan, but I only chose to give you 4. So that's all for my report, and I hope you learned something. Bye-bye.